Hello, it's Eric Johnson, the brand.
And Aaron Thigpen, the source. Today's topic, beware the man selling magic beans.
I love it.
Gadgets, gimmickry, and your money in baseball.
Man.
Something near and dear to me.
And me too, Aaron. I tell you that right now, man.
And by magic beans, what I'm talking about is I'm referring to the old Jack and the Beanstalk tale when Jack is sold some magic beans by some strange guy. And most of you know the story. He ends up with the golden goose who lays the golden eggs at the end, but that isn't always the case when you are involved with some of these sorts of things, these fanciful claims that people selling products and programs have. So it's really just about buyer beware. And mainly what we're talking about is there's a whole industry based on selling performance items and enhancements and programs and you name it to baseball athletes and consumers out there. And we want to just talk about how you guys gotta really learn to vet these things out. And not to say that it's all gimmickry and flash, but you want to be discerning, I feel, in how you spend your money. And you want to be discerning in what your expectations of a certain product or program should be. And how is it going? What are you going to get out of it? And you also want to look at the risk factor. And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't look at when they decide to adopt a program, that's popular. And they don't look at, well, hey, does this appropriately fit my athlete? And is it safe for them? And so that's what I want to get into today.
And Aaron, it's funny you say that because I think in this day and age of what's available for people to view via the internet, on their phones, computers, and the talk amongst players or athletes about this is what I did and this gave me this, and now that other athlete goes, I gotta jump on that too, and I'm gonna do that because you did it and I saw the results you got, I'm gonna do it. But the athletes are different.
Exactly.
The athlete is different. It's not the same. It's not some cookie cutting thing for everybody. And I think the key word you said, discerning, for the athletes. And
that's one of the overriding philosophies I have when people ask me about programs. And, hey, Aaron, I thought about doing this, or I thought about training with this or doing that. Or what do you think about so-and-so who does this over here? And usually my reply is there's no such thing as a wrong program or wrong drill. Right. It's the application. And that's where people really have a hard time. Is they, like you said, they assume that, hey, Joe did this routine and he gained 5 miles an hour. So if I do that exact same routine, I'm going to get 5 miles an hour. No, it's not necessarily the case. Athletes are different. They have different ways that their bodies learn and grow. They have different risk factors and tolerances, and all of that needs to be taken into consideration. So I think first you need to qualify what you're going to use, whether it's buying a new piece of equipment, adopting a program, is just look at the overall philosophy of it and find out, hey, does that really match what I'm trying to accomplish? If you're one of these guys who's 5'8" in stature, and you're really trying to go to a power program, a power throwing program, well, maybe, but if you're not throwing strikes first, what does it matter?
It doesn't matter, you got strike.
And if you're not at that physical point of development where your body can handle the demands of a power throwing program, then you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, Aaron, I think that's important because I think a lot of athletes, and maybe just as a parent, you're trying to figure out and navigate what is best for my kid. I think an assessment, a serious assessment of the player, number one. Two, what type of player are you, and what are your goals moving forward? Those are crucial things that people need to really look at, rather than say, well, I want these kind of gains this quick. There's not a quick fix in this. If you're trying to get better, it's going to take hard work, and it's going to take, not 4 months or 6 months. It's going to take years to really get your body to change and get better. It's not some overnight thing. And I see a lot of people trying to do the 6 month, like I need velocity in 6 months, or I need power in 6 months as a hitter. And if you're not hitting the ball on the barrel, that's going to be a problem. If you don't have your body trained properly to throw a certain speed, that's going to be a problem. And I think, having an assessment, like I said, and understanding what your goals are, as you mentioned, are critical for a player to understand what's the best program for them.
Right. Okay, so you've done your assessment. You have your goals. How do you identify the proper program? You vet it just like you would anything else, at least like I hope you would anything else. Yes, you first start off by going to their website, but you got to understand, everyone puts their best foot forward.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But you start there and you read through it. Don't glance through it. Don't look at just the testimonials or just, hey, this pro athlete says this is great. But vet it. Read through. Does what they're saying make sense? Are they showing you athletes that mirror you? Because it's, one of the things in this industry that don't really subscribe to is that they'll put a face of a professional athlete up front and say that, hey, this is the secret to their success and da-da-da-da. But in a lot of cases, that athlete was already who they were before they got to that program.
Absolutely.
And they weren't necessarily involved in the full development of that athlete. And now, not to say that a pro athlete can't come to a program and do it and say, hey, yeah, this is great and this is working for me.
Right.
But sometimes what gets lost in translation when a parent goes to that site or a kid goes to that site, they say, oh, I saw so-and-so's face plastered on that site. That's what made him who he is.
Right.
And I think you have to take a step back and look a little bit deeper and say, okay, that's great that he likes this program and this protocol or this product, but where are the guys who look like me? And where are their stories? Mm-hmm. Where's the 5'8", 150-pound high school player, and what has the program done for them? And where's that parent's testimonial or that sort of thing?
I think that's critical, because a lot of times as we look at these websites or we go through information and we're trying to figure out, and you see that pro athlete there and that's all you see. But I want to know, as a training and development specialist, I want to know, what's your average guy look like? Mm-hmm. Here's a guy, where did he start? Where's his development through the process, and where did he end up? Mm-hmm. I think that's so important, because that's how an athlete looks.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get these guys that are they're less than the 1%ers, and they were already less than 1%. They were given this ability to be that good anyway, and they had the physicality already, and they did the program, and that's great. But what about the other players that are making up this elite team? What about them? How did they get there?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. I always say, okay, well, what's the program now for us mere mortals? We know what we know what Superman is doing here.
Right.
But now what do you got for the rest of us mere mortals here?
Right.
And another way that you might be able to vet a program is also go outside of the site. Because again, best foot forward, that's understandable. You're trying to sell a product, you're trying to sell a program, makes sense. But, try and find and talk to other people that have gone through the program, outside of that, and get their take on their experience with it, or their take on the product. Or, maybe ask other coaches or other professionals in the business. Yeah. I mean, there's 100 ways to skin a cat.
So that's why I'm saying, there's not necessarily bad programs. I guess
Right.
there are out there, but there's usually just bad application. And that's the key, I think, in most cases.
And Aaron, another thing too, and I think this gets lost in translation. You get into a program, the management of it. It's great to have a program, but what is going on? Here's a program, that's it. What about the management of it? What about checking in? What about, like, hey, the athlete speaking to the sports performance person or their coach also, and they're working together. The sports performance guy and the baseball guy or whatever is working together with this athlete to form this athlete. It's the management of it is critical.
And it's so funny you mentioned that, because that's what I had in my notes, and it's just like there's a vending machine mentality to these sorts of products and programs. It's like, okay, I punch my money in here, PayPal, give so and so my $500.
Right.
They send me my PDF file. Or they send me my online access file. Here's my list of exercises, and that's it. And it's like, that is not how training should be done.
Right.
There needs to be oversight, there needs to be management, and there needs to be support. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're talking and interfacing with some of these
Right.
people on a regular basis, but it seems to me that there should be some of that involved, because you're talking about development. And if that was the case, yeah, it'd just be easy to crank out and just send a bunch of
Right.
pamphlets and booklets out, and
Absolutely.
and you would see their numbers going skyrocketing, and you don't. So there's more to it. There's no secret formula or secret sauce that you can just purchase. There are going to be some other factors that have to be employed for you to get the most out of any program.
And when you talk about these other factors, Aaron, what can you recommend? Like these other factor things, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know, as I talk to parents or other people come in and talk to us about different stuff, these factors are critical, I think, for a development of a young athlete.
Well, I mean, first, again, I think even if you purchase a program and you have access to some other professional expertise, just say, hey, coach, I've got this program. I'd like for you to look it over. What things can I really use in this, and what things maybe do you think should I stay away from? Hey, can I check in with you on this, or can we, can you work with me through this?
Okay.
Those sorts of things. If there's a program that you're buying off the web, then they shouldn't really have a problem having some kind of customer support where you should be able to ask them questions about some things and have some dialogue so that things are clear, that you're doing things properly, that you're doing things the right way, that you're not putting yourself at risk. Because, again, a lot can get lost in translation from
Right.
a document to the actual doing the activity. And even a video can't always illustrate everything that needs to be communicated.
Right.
So I think that's where you should start. The other thing is consistency. To me, regardless of what you're doing, you have to be consistent. And that's been the hallmark of every successful athlete I've ever had and ever seen in 25 years. And the one thing about these programs is don't buy them, or don't buy this piece of this equipment unless you're going to use it.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like this whole, people get on this momentary high of, I got this,
Yeah.
I got the sling now, so it's going to help me, throw hard, or it's going to help me run faster. And then they use it for a few weeks, and then they're on to something else. No, you've got to stay dedicated, you got to stay the course, and you got to be consistent. If you're not willing to do that, don't waste your money. It's kind of like the athlete's form of dieting,
Right.
People, they start diets, but they very rarely stay with them.
Right.
And so my thing is, you got to see a program through to its end to really find out if it's going to work for you. Maybe that you do it a second iteration where you make some changes into it, or you say, you know what, no, this wasn't for me, and then you move on to something else.
That's real good advice, because you and I see this all the time, is that people like, I got this whole new thing, and it's there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I go, well, what happened? What did you do? I found something else. And I think having a clear, defined goal and assessing who you are and having a protocol, whether it's a scheduling, a check-in, and I'd like to see athletes document stuff, whether it's on their phone or they're writing stuff down, keeping journals. It's a great resource to find out how you're really doing, and I think young athletes sometimes forget to do that, and I think it's huge, because you could see the path you're on when you document and write stuff down. And if you do it on a daily basis or whatever schedule you have, then I think that's part of this too, Aaron, is that you need to write stuff down as you accomplish your goals or whatever you're trying to do, and put down how many repetitions you're doing or whatever you're doing. You need to write it down, because that's your roadmap. Yeah, man, you're gonna see where you're going.
And those programs, most programs, if you're buying a program, should have that sort of tracking ability.
Right.
Another thing that I think people should know going into these is that they should have realistic expectations. And again, everybody puts the best foot forward. They're going to say, hey, I gained 12 miles per hour on my fastball, or we had this kid who exit velocity went up 8 miles per hour in 3 weeks. And not to say that those things are false and that they can't happen, but again, what's the average return that the normal athlete is getting? And that's what you want, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you're saying, yeah, okay, I want to get that 12 miles an hour, and you're not getting it, and then you either lose faith in the program or you quit or whatever the case may be. So set realistic expectations, and just don't assume that anything is the one all end all for your athletic success.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think an honest assessment, Aaron, because I think a lot of people are just they get something or they see something and go, I'm going to have that, and it's not really an honest assessment of where you're going. And you need to be real honest with your development when you're trying to reach a goal, and really defining your goal. Like, is this? And I think that's great. Maybe coming in and talking to you or talking with their management team about that. Yeah. The athlete needs to be managed better.
And lastly, what I think I want to tell the parents and the kids is popular does not equal good. And I'll say that again. Popular does not equal good.
Right.
There are a lot of popular routines, and there's a lot of popular equipment, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. Again, this is commerce.
Right.
It happens to be training, it happens to be performance training, it happens to be skills training, but it's commerce. And the first and foremost goal usually is to sell product. And the effectiveness just happens to be secondary. And so you're out there, you're spending, I'm the type of person who looks at, hey, I've only got so much in resources. I have so much in time, so much in energy, so much in funding. And I've got to spend all of that wisely. If you're an athlete, these are investments, and you want a return on your investment. Either that, you're gambling.
I love that. That's so honest and so real in our industry, and it's true. So, again, great talking with you. It's Eric Johnson, the brand.
And Aaron Thigpen, the source. Beware of those magic beans out there.